Good morning, everyone. How are you? Hello, hello. Just giving everyone a little bit more time to come in today. And just first of all, just love to say thank you very much for joining me on a Monday morning, in lockdown. Um, Pretty funny that you guys are joining um, on a Monday, but that's okay. I'll just wait a little while too, because while the two brokers I was going to interview join us, so just bear with me for a moment. If you want to have a chat, just unmute yourself and say hi, and we can go from there. Jason, how's that you?
It is now. How you
Hi.
going?
Hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey. I'll just give everyone a bit more time. I was a little bit late, just had a little incident with the coffee machine, which was quite funny. Yeah, I think after this amount of time in lockdown, we'll be pretty proficient in our own coffee machine, but not, it's still messed up, right? So, and it was almost like a mini meltdown. It's like, oh no, what am I going to do? Um, it's just one of those first world problems that we've got, but that's okay. Okay, so just to let you guys know, we've got Sam and Jason on the line now. So what I'll do is I'll introduce them to the group. We want to have because both of them run different businesses, and then from there, hopefully you guys can take some notes. If you got any questions, there is a chat down the bottom. If you're not familiar with Zoom by now, you should be, because we're in day 578 in lockdown or something like that. But yeah, so ask some questions in there, or raise your hands and then unmute yourself, and then ask the question. We are stuck at around about a 40-minute mark because, as I say to most of my Zooms, I'm a cheap bastard, so I don't have a professional package. And I do it that way so that we don't actually have too much time. You know, if we spend too much time, then you're going to be bored, right? You're going to tune off. So the whole point is not to tune off, and the whole point is just to hopefully we learn something today. Okay. So today is about how to build your business, or how the points of views of how Sam and Jason built their business using a VA service from offshore, right? So I want to have just chat to them about how they came to that realization. That they needed help in their business, and a VA was the way to go. We all, I think by now, most of us are business owners, and we all know the what do you call it? We all know the cost effectiveness of having a VA business, and of course, we all know how the other issues that come with employing staff is not there or is mitigated with a VA business. So I won't touch onto that. I just more want to have us talk to Sam and Jason about their individual businesses and what their individual journeys was to get to where they are now. That's okay. So Sam, Jason, if it's okay, can you unmute your microphone? So what's going to happen is when you talk, your face will be online, and for everyone to see. Okay, just 1 second. We should be fine now. Jason, can I and Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
No problem at all.
Excellent. Jason and Sam, just can you give us a quick introduction in terms of your business, like where you're based, how many staff you've got for the group, and then I'll jump in and then I'll ask you questions after that. Is that cool? Could I start with you, Sam? Yep.
Yes. So I'm based on the Northern Beaches in Sydney, around the Manly Way. Our business, the Aureus Financial Group, is basically a conglomerate of financial services businesses. So there's like accounting, mortgage broking, financial advice, business advisory, and a number of other different areas that basically aim to serve SME business owners to grow their business, make more profits, create more wealth. For the mortgage broking business, which is probably what you guys are interested in the most, we have 4 offshore staff. With Petra, we have myself as the sort of head broker, and another one of our financial advisors who writes a small amount of loans as well. So it's the finance business is probably the smallest out of everything, and that's being headed up by myself at this time.
Oh, that's awesome. Jason?
So
Yeah.
I just run a pretty small, just one person brokerage. I've got 2 team members that are offshore through Petra also. And yeah, just gradually building up. I'm sort of in the beginning stage of where I want to be, like Sam's where I want to be. Sam's business, the way that they're running things is where I want to be. So yeah, I'm just gradually scaling up and using the VAs to the absolute maximum to be able to do that, to get most cost effectiveness out of them.
Awesome, thank you. Jason, and I'm pretty sure you'll probably realize anyway that most brokers who are tuning in today are probably where you are. And where, they're thinking about taking that next step. And then obviously, Sam, that's where everyone aspires to be, that you've got this team behind you. And then, how you do it to maintain and then even grow bigger and scale, right? So both of you guys use Karuna Assist. So I'll put in the chat details later on. Sorry, I'll be doing this video later on as well, to actually get you guys who are watching the contact details for Petra, who actually runs it. But if we can, we'll sort of touch on that later on. Jason, we had a quick chat the other day, and I think what you said sort of resonated a lot. And you said that you're a one-man person, one-man business, and that there was actually a point in time where you actually thought you're gonna chuck in the towel, right? And then, so can you step us through, from there, then how did you actually decide to bring on a VA business into your business, and then how you're running now, basically, to actually have 2?
I think it just came down to, like we discussed, getting as much bang for your buck. If you're doing everything yourself, you just can't specialize in these specific things that a VA can really, really just nut down and write. Quite frankly, they do much better than me right now. And it did come to a head where I was just like going, this is not worth it. And I'm not able to bring in or write the volume that I need to be able to grow this business to even keep on feeding my family. So something has to change. So that's when the light bulb moment happened. And thank the Lord, if there is one, that I saw a presentation by Jackson from Aureus, the Aureus group. And that then led me through to Karuna. And from that, it really gave me an idea of how to segregate the things that I'm good at as a broker, the things that I dislike, and also ways that I can implement processes to help my team members, the VAs from overseas, and so that they can work more effectively. Because having them work effectively and be confident in what they're doing is one of the most critical pieces of having a VA.
Okay, cool. Sam, could I ask you, did you sort of work like Jason, where you had one person, your broker's business, and then you started looking at VAs to get others in, or
No, it was a little bit differently. So when we started Aureus 4 years ago, we had, I think, 2 VAs start the day the business started, right? Because we understood that we were trying to build this conglomerate of businesses, and me and my partner Jackson were going to be very, very busy trying to run these number of businesses. So we had VAs from day one before we were even revenue producing, to help us basically map out the system so we can scale. And I think that's probably the biggest advantage in having offshore staff, is that you can't just sit next to them and problem solve for them. All right, because there's the distance, because there's the actual physical distance, you have to build systems, you have to build processes and procedures that people can continue to go back to time and time again. You can't just lean over your desk. Do you know what I mean? And since we've done that, we launched from day one with offshore staff. I think across the group now, I don't know if we've got 10 or 15. I'm not sure how many. But the original guys who started with us, who are still there, have trained up the others as time goes on. So you build the system once, and then even our crew is training the new crew that comes on board, which makes it much easier to scale because you don't have to train someone fresh every single time. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of it.
Awesome. So just on that, I sort of picked 2 things up, right? So number one, that there was planning involved to get where you were. Was that something that the VA business helped you with as well, or was that sort of this is your plan and this is how you went to a career assistant and said, hey, can you help us implement this plan?
Well, it's funny the way it all kicked off, because Petra and I, we actually worked together at Yellow Brick Road in DY, right? So we became the number one Yellow Brick Road branch in the country. I left, my business partner left, Petra left, everyone sort of left at the same time. So me and Jackson went on to start Aureus, and Petra went on to start Karuna basically at the same time. So these two businesses grew together side by side from day one, and we were sort of working with each other to figure it out, you know what I mean? Because we were muddling around in the dark. So it was probably a bit of us leaning on them and a bit of them leaning on us.
Yeah. What about you, Jason? How did you sort of map yours
out? Sort of the other end again. Sam and I have come at things from completely sort of the different. He's built it from the ground up, where I've sort of tried to absorb all of their knowledge. So I, from speaking with Jackson, he introduced me to Petra, and then Petra, having already introduced these great processes that they've developed working with Sam and with Jackson, she said, look, if you're going to have staff, you need to video record all of your training. If this is how you enter a loan into the system, you need to video record it so that the VA can watch it over and over again. You need to map out what your processes are. So a diagram of A goes to B, goes to C, goes to, and this is what happens, video, all of those processes, and then they go on your particular system so that they can cross-reference them anytime they need. And it just shortens the training time span that it would normally take from 6-8 months down to really 4 months. 4 months, and my first VA was running at probably 75% capacity. And then my second VA was probably up to speed in about 3 months.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I was going to ask you guys with regards to, did you actually attempt to hire an onshore admin staff first? But I probably won't, because of what you guys just said there. Now, with regards to the VAs being overseas, in this case, they're in the Philippines, so there's a time difference as well there. So did you guys find that affected the way you guys worked here, or do you think it's actually not really? Because I think if anything, it might be helpful, because when you're asleep, someone's still working. So.
Yeah, the time difference is not that much. It's only a couple of hours. So basically, all the team over in the fields are working 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 Australian office hours. So it really has not had any impact at all.
Okay, awesome. So what about now? Because obviously right now, I think one of the biggest concerns for a lot of people here who are thinking of using VAs, and they know that the VAs are obviously in overseas countries. A lot of these overseas countries are affected by the pandemic, obviously with lockdown, or probably worse, because we're very lucky in Australia that from a health issue, not a lot of us have been affected, right? And the health system here is pretty good and robust. Have you guys found that has that affected your businesses at all? Because the VAs, are they supposed to be working in one big building, or have they also gone off and worked from home as well? And how's that process been, if that's the case?
So I found, if you want to direct that at me.
No, that's okay. Yeah,
I found they actually like it, because they get to work from home. They're not in one big office building where they can all catch COVID from each other, sitting across from each other. They're at home. They can essentially, they're self-isolating. They're in lockdown, the same as we are right now. And the income that they're earning is substantial for someone in the Philippines. So if they need to go to the shops, they can go to the shops, buy what they need, come back, and then they just function out of the house. I find that it works really well for them, and they like the fact that they can work from home. It's beneficial in my mind.
Cool. Sam?
Yeah, I think the Filipino culture by nature is pretty conservative. So we think when the pandemic hit, they previously all were in an office, and they had to travel, some of them some pretty substantial timeframes in the morning to and from the office. So when they did switch to working from home at the time, the biggest concern that we had was obviously compliance, but there was a lot of measures that were put into place for them to remain completely compliant with working from home, signed off by the insurers and things like that as well, right? So super happy with that aspect of it. But now that they have been working from home for so long, a lot of them don't actually want to return back to the office life when things do get back to normal. And that's probably a pretty similar thing here in Australia, that a lot of people probably not going to go back and work 40 hours a week in an office cubicle anymore. They'll probably do a little bit of both, but it's pretty similar feeling over there.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, because talking to a lot of people as well who are not business owners, they say that they're more effective working from home. You get more work done, but conversely, they actually end up working more than they normally would, because of, there's no more travel time and so forth. All right, so let's move on to, I suppose, to where, the average, how do I put it? We as a consumer of things such as, utilities, telephone, banking, and then when we need to make that phone call to those particular businesses, the usual, how do I put it nicely, but it's usually, as a consumer, we kind of get pissed off when we're talking to someone that is not in Australia, right? So these guys are part of your team. So obviously, you training them with regards? You're training them up. Is the culture that you're trying to give or install into them something that someone from over here, when they call up, they're not going to get pissed off, or is it that the customer only talks to you guys and not those guys, not your team overseas?
Do you want to go first, Jason?
Yeah, no problem. So one of the requirements, or the character traits that I did ask for in the VAs that Petra looked when she was shortlisting people, was that their English was impeccable, and that there's certain personality traits that go really well with being a loan processor or a power broker or document collection data enter processor. So those sorts of things are the things that I've requested when I've asked for these specific positions to be filled. And most of the clients, when they call up, they can speak to either of my two team members that are overseas, and their English is impeccable. It's probably less bogan than mine sometimes. So it's very good. Most people, obviously some people in Australia do get a little bit upset speaking with people from other countries because of the whole call center thing, and it's just ingrained that they get a little bit frustrated. But on the whole, most of the time they have no problem speaking with my team members.
Awesome. Sam?
Yeah, I've done a lot of research in this space, and I've done it a lot of different ways, right? And currently, the way it's being done, let's say that this is the loan process, okay, and this is from marketing, generating leads, and then this is post settlement, keeping in touch with the client, and then picture on this side is everything that's done onshore, and then picture on this side that's everything that's done offshore. So at the moment, with the 4 different roles, they're very specific in their niches. If it's a production line, right, as deals are progressing through, everyone's very specific in what they do. So they're basically doing, let's say, 85% of the heavy lifting on that side. And for me, the mortgage broker's role is basically to be that relationship manager, to have that strategic input and then have it executed by everyone on the team. Now, I think that's like for last week, for example, I was on holidays. I didn't pick my phone up once. I didn't check my emails, and the crew basically handled everything while I was away.
That, by the way, is amazing. Just to let you know.
Yeah, and it was
fine.
Owner,
yeah,
yeah, it was absolutely fine. I didn't go on my phone once. I didn't answer a phone call. Nothing at all. Didn't check an email. And everything's fine. I come back on Monday morning, come in a couple of hours early, check on everything. Everything's running smoothly. So they've got the skill set and the ability to handle it. I prefer them to be focusing on the tasks that they have at hand and having the brokers do the relationship management side of things. But when you take it to the next level now of growth, because this is what we're thinking about into the future, I think it'll be split up even further again, where it's itemized on the delivery side from the crew, But even from the broker's perspective, I think if you go to the next scale of growth, the brokers really, once a deal's been accepted by a client, and the sale has been completed, really you should have office managers or client success managers at that point that take a deal from there, and the broker goes off and hunts the next deal. So I think that depending on where you are in the business, if you're a one-man band and you're getting your first VA, you want to keep all the relationship with the client, and I think you want to have the VA doing all the heavy lifting, right? Because there's plenty of work that you can get one VA to do, but as you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 10. And as the team continues to build and to scale, the roles are going to have to change. And what people will have to do is it has to change, because you can't operate a business with 2 people the same that you can at 20 or at 200. So it has to continue to evolve and be a lifelong thing.
That's awesome. I think in the chat there, Peter Carroll asked a question that pretty much you just answered there.
Can you comment?
Yes.
Yeah. So they'll get something like last week. They'll do everything. They'll go on the phones. They'll leave voicemails. They can call based on they've got an app on the computer. They call. I think it comes off an Australian number. And then when they communicate by email, I just ask them they've all got access to my inbox to send everything via my inbox. Hey, Mr. Client, it's Renzo here on behalf of Sam Panetta. Done. Sign off the email. So make it very clear that it's not coming from me.
Yep.
It's coming from one of the members of the team, but it still remains everything in my inbox. So if I ever need to see everything, I can go back and I can see something.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I've got obviously a chat I didn't actually look at before, but it's what's the average cost as a dollar figure or a percentage figure of each deal. Do you guys sort of looked at that on a granular level and sort of worked out whether that works or not?
I haven't looked at it as a percentage figure of each deal. If you're getting an entry-level team member, you're probably looking at about, I guess, $2,200 circa or a month, or about $3,300 for one of the more senior guys. My rough rule of thumb is you can probably have one support person for every about $2 million a month that you settle in loans.
Yeah,
that's my rough rule of thumb.
Yeah, so I remember one of the metrics that Petra presented initially, and just the fact that it works out to about $11.50 an hour. You try to find someone that can work 36, 40 hours a week in Australia for the $11.50 an hour and still do just as good a job. It's virtually impossible. Or it is impossible. So that's the way I look at it. So if any task that I have that I don't like doing or is going to eat up 2 hours of my day that I can have one of my team members do, then I just go, right, now I work out a way to make sure that becomes part of their jobs, so I can focus more on clients, do more assessments, and get more deals through the door.
Okay, that's awesome. So you're both using Current Assist, which is Petra's business. In the chat, I'll put Petra's details in shortly. So we'll just continue the conversations then. Okay. Caroline Epson just put in the chat as well. Are these people exclusively yours and they're not being shared by multiple brokers? Because obviously, as I think one of the things which comes up, and I've been asked multiple times as well, because how do I put it? If you're a broker and you're using someone that's looking after your profile, you probably don't want them also looking after someone else's stuff, right? Because somewhere along the line there might be an issue. So can you just let us know what, in terms of how Current Assist works? Are the staff yours and yours only, or are they shared with others?
No, exclusive. So it's basically like having hiring them direct as part of your team. It's none of it's shared. Petra can probably confirm, but I don't think they do any of that at all. But it's all exclusively. It's as if they're in your own team.
Yeah. So they'll come and do a weekly team meeting and stand up and so forth. Yeah.
Correct.
And they're in all the
group
5
chats
times a day.
Yeah.
So, okay. So on that, obviously, because what you're talking about is when you say power brokering, you're doing admin stuff and so forth. That's a lot of skills, right? So I think for the people on the chat now who'll be watching later on, I think the mindset I don't want them to have the incorrect mindset that thinking, someone new coming to broking thinking it'd be, everyone can make 100 grand a year without actually spending 10 grand to set up your business, right? Which is ridiculous. So what I would like to, the real world picture of when you actually get your first staff, are they fully trained ready to rock, or are they, say 30% ready to rock because they know the basics of how to look at a payslip, for example, but then you have to train them up to work within your business. And so that when someone does look at, getting a VA, that they're not, how do I put it, not sad that these guys aren't ready to rock as if they were in your business, Sam or Jason.
Yeah, I think that if they're coming into the industry for the first time and they don't have experience as a para broker or as a finance support person or something similar, then I think that it is misguided, I guess you'd call it, to expect them to be able to come in and to do the work. You couldn't hire anyone like that. You couldn't, even if you hired someone in Australia who was an accounting graduate, you couldn't plonk them in a seat and then expect them to be able to, help you do research on finance strategies. You'd have to teach them. Now, that is, as I said, we done it the first time. We trained a guy up and then he trained everybody else up. But I think if you're looking at it from that sort of perspective, as it being a hindrance, having to train someone up the first time, I think you're probably looking at it wrong, because the beauty of this is that in order to train somebody up to follow your systems in the business, you have to build systems, and most people don't have any systems. They have nothing written, they have nothing recorded. They basically just do all the work themselves, all the systems in the head. But if you can extract all of that, that's value. That's adding asset value to your business, and then you use those systems to train the team up. Those systems don't go away. You'll have to adjust them and stuff like that over time. But that's the beauty of it, to get everything out of your head onto paper and actually build a business per se.
And that allowed you to go away without actually looking at the phone.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Jason, what about you? When you first sort of started to look at a VA to get into your business, did you have any misconceptions that you had to overcome?
Not this time. A couple of years ago, I did have a VA through a different company, and I did have misconceptions then, and my expectations were way too high, and obviously because they were too high, I was let down all the time. This time I came in and realized that I was going to have to do some of the work to make sure that my team members were trained correctly, and as soon as you have that expectation, everything's just so much better. Everything is a lot smoother. And it's like Sam said, if you've got the systems and the processes down before you start the training, then it makes everything so much easier. And I still do regular training with my team because I've got them starting at a certain place, but I want them up to be a para broker. So it might take 2 years before they get up to be able to be a para broker where they can do finance strategies, they can do complex self-employed deals. But that's a stepping stone. And as they progress, they will go up through their specific spots, like Sam said, like a production line. And they go up if they want that position, if they want their next spot. Then I ask them, and they normally say yes, they want to go up, because it means a pay rise for them and more status, really.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's sort of funny how I suppose from a psychology point of view, that most business owners come into this and then expect, wrongly, that when you have a business, you hire people and you don't have to train them. But they forget that when they were when you're working for someone else, there's always training. Right, there's always training either once a week or once a month or something. And even when I was in the bank, you had to do a yearly AML training, and it's like, we already know this shit. Why are we doing this again? But that's just life, and that's how business actually runs, a proper business, right? So
correct.
So we are down to the last 10 minutes of this impromptu show. So look, if you guys in the audience have anything to ask, please type in some more stuff now. Okay, Peter's just asked something there. Guys, we all use different CRM systems based on aggregators our business have signed up with. How did you adjust your own internal processes to accommodate your aggregator CRM, online lodgement systems, etc., etc.?
Yeah,
Train them up as you need.
So what? So
Sorry,
actually, could I just
Sam,
ask
you're
which?
going. You go, Sam.
Okay, so
No, go.
how about this? Okay, I'll ask Jason. Jason first. Which aggregator are you with?
With
And,
Connective.
Sam, are you with the same? Are you with Connected as
I'm
well?
also with Connected.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what doesn't work. I was hoping you'd say different navigators, and then yeah. But anyway, proceed, you guys. I'll get you to answer first, Jason.
Just train them up as need be. Obviously, different processes because the CRM software is different and the way that it tracks. But you just train them up as you require them to be trained. The actual initial training they get doesn't take away from what you're going to do, which is build on top of that foundation. I've found that some of the two team members I've got, their background is not so much in finance, but in dealing with like customer issues, like Telstra call centers. You deal with some irate customer call centers for 3 hours on the phone. Like, these people know how to handle an emergency or a crisis, client in a crisis. They're great on the phone. So it's those sorts of pressure situations that they really they come to the fore, and training them up on a different system, no problem whatsoever.
Because essentially, I mean, it's really the only aggregator system, isn't it? Because otherwise, applying lines the same for everyone. You got to have to transfer the data from your aggregator system to apply line. All the documentation that a lender needs is the same. It's not that different between different aggregators, right? So
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of moving parts here. So I think when you onboard a VA, they will come with some level of training from the firm. Do you know what I mean? But they're not just plunked on a seat. They will be trained up for a handful of weeks, shadowing the other people in the office or the other people on their team. But on top of that, once you get to that point, and then you've got them there from the firm. At that point, then So I took my systems to the next level and I built them into the CRM, because the CRM is customizable, right? So now all the systems that we built, we took them, implanted them into the CRM, so the tasks are automatic and allocated and things like that. And that's what everyone will have a different system and they'll have a different CRM, but it's worthwhile rolling up the sleeves and spending a couple of days actually building your system and the tasks and the templates and everything like that into the CRM, so it's automated. But you also need to teach the guys how to hunt or how to fish, because you've seen it over time. The bank's policies change, the bank's servicing calculators change, the portals change, all these things change. So you guys, as brokers, need to learn that, because there's so much change that happens all the time, but so does your crew. Do you know what I mean? So that you need to give them, you got to basically teach them how to fish as well as giving them a couple of fish along the way as well.
okay, so my sort of final question on this one is, because obviously you guys are running your own business. These guys are part of your team and you're looking after them in certain aspects, right? So what does Crew Assistant do there? Because obviously they're the crew that had started to find down these staff for you. What do they do in the background for you while you run your business, and while you can actually step out and go for a week offline, basically, which I find at the moment is so appealing right now. So appealing. You have no idea.
Look, I'm sure Corona Assist do a ton. I couldn't tell you because I'm so far detached from it now, right? So we have a general manager in our team who basically runs the office and runs all the team. You know what I mean? So outside of the tasks that have been allocated to the crew to get done, I don't have much to do with anything else of it. So I don't see probably a lot of what goes on behind the scenes, because I'm a couple layers detached from what's actually going on. So I think Jason would probably be able to answer the question a bit better than me.
Thanks, Sam, putting on the spot.
I was going to pick on you anyway, mate.
It's all good. I just finding the right people for your position. That's what I found just incredible. Like the two team members I have, Vicky and Carmel, are just amazing. They've fit right in like you wouldn't believe. They're just incredible. The back end processes they get, and they know that they have to meet certain metrics. Their bosses, like Petra she makes sure that they hit their mark, and we get feedback reports that we have to fill in to see where we think that our VAs are at the moment, whether or not they're stressed, is there anything that we can improve. And on the other side of it, they have team get-togethers, like when we're not on lockdown, where they catch up and they have go and do this event, and they go and do that event. It's more of like a family that they get together. So even though they're working from home now, it's really more of a family environment, and so they feed off that. They want to make sure that they're performing up to their best friends or their colleagues' performance level. So they can sometimes call them up if they've got any issues. What do you do in this situation? What do you do? And then you've always got, if there is anything going south, you just call Petra straight up and she'll handle it. So
That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I've got to step in there. I think that culture piece is so underrated, because I think that I think especially in the Philippines, that culture piece is super important. Do you know what I mean? And all those team activities and all that they do, and making sure that the quality of life, and especially with their work, is super high. And as Jason was talking, I was thinking, I was like, we've never lost one of our team with Corona. Do you know what I mean? Some have been with us for 4 years, where historically that outsourcing industry does have a lot of churn, because unfortunately some of these guys don't treat their staff very well. And I think having that culture piece in the business where everyone is friends, they are family, that's super important. That's difficult to replicate.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're in the last 3 minutes of this webinar before it automatically cut off because I'm a cheap bastard. So just a quick reminder for everyone, if you are on our mailing distribution list for Finance and Coffee, the week's quiz is now live. With the first person, one attempt with the highest points gets $100 prize this week. It was actually supposed to be launched on Friday, but because Friday was a public holiday in Victoria, and I just couldn't be bothered doing it. So it's launched about 8 o'clock this morning. So please check your emails if you haven't received it. I'll be putting it into the main chat later on. Last 2 minutes. So hang on, where is it? Peter. Oh, okay. Jason's just answered Peter's question. Yeah. So Peter was just asking, how do you account for the VA's time expended on deals? Do you have internal time stamping process to track the time billed by individuals? So I think, Jason, you've just answered that, which is the monthly invoice that your business covers, and you don't charge your clients on that one. Is that cool? Yep.
Yeah, correct.
So last 1 minute, Jason, Sam, thank you so much for giving up your valuable time at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday to do this, and you guys jumping on board as well. Thank you very much as well. There is no CPD points because I'm too lazy to actually apply for it, but it should be. I'm still very humble that you're jumping on at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday during a pandemic to do this, and most of us are on school holiday time. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but once again, thank you. I'll upload this video shortly. But Jason and Sam, thank you so much, guys. That was been great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks.
And Karina, if you're in the background, thank you as well. That's awesome.
See you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.